Okay, so this is my introduction to getting up and running with oVirt. oVirt's a virtualization manager, and I find the easiest way to get it going is using the oVirt node. So the oVirt node is a cut down version of CentOS, and it includes Cockpit, and it's got an easy to use wizard that actually allows you to install the hosted engine. And once you get the hosted engine up, you can then configure storage, and then you can add some extra hosts. So this is what the final result will look like. So I have 3 hosts. I actually have a virtual machine of an oVirt node. Obviously you would install this straight onto hardware. So I'm just going to go over the installation of an oVirt node. At the moment, just a simple oVirt node installation. I'm going to do it inside of oVirt, but you would do that straight on the direct hardware, although you can virtualize it as well, but most of the time you would do it straight onto hardware. So oVirt node installation is fairly simple. If you've installed Fedora, CentOS or Red Hat Enterprise Linux before, then you'll have absolutely no problems installing this. There's a couple of little quirks that I've found. I'm just going to demonstrate the first quirk now, and it will just give you a quick introduction onto how to use oVirt to a certain extent. So I'm going to start this virtual machine, and I'm just going to run once. I'm just going to start it up with gparted. One of the things I've learned is you've got to have a clean CD, a clean hard disk I should say. If you don't have a clean hard disk, then oVirt fails with errors when it tries to install and it complains about storage. So there's something going on with the oVirt nodes that they're not actually clearing out storage properly. So that's just one of the little quirks I've learned. I had a bit of trouble at the start. Every time I tried to install it, I got silly errors, and it was very frustrating at the start. So to start this oVirt node, I'm going to use the run once option. And that run once option allows me to select a CD, and that CD will just run just the once and just allows you to install and that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to run gparted live on this now, and as that starts up, I will connect to a console, and we should be able to start off the gparted live, and it hasn't worked, and I'm not too sure why. I will just change CD, so we've got the escape for the boot menu, and we're just going to go to, and we've booted into gparted live now, so I'm not too sure what went on then. I'd mainly do this in live hardware environment anyway. So when I installed the oVirt nodes, I usually just go into gparted live, I clean them out, just clean the partitions out, and then I just restart it, and I create a new, create a new oVirt node using just a clean disk. If you've got clean disk to start with, fantastic. So we're just going to wait for gparted to start up now, and here we go. So obviously you can use any tool you want. You could even use command line, fdisk, just something to clean the partition, so when you go to install the oVirt node, you've got nothing there. So this is actually, I'll just deactivate that, and I'll delete that, and then I'll just delete this partition, and we've got 50 gigs, just a small 50 gig drive there, so I'll just go apply there. And obviously I'm not going to bother with that, going through that. I'm just going to close down that virtual machine, and I think we'll go through creating a new virtual machine, and we'll sort of use that process anyway, and it may be just a little bit of an introduction to oVirt. So I'll just close that, and I'll just shut down, power off that virtual machine, and I'll delete it. Just waiting for it to properly shut down. And I will remove, and I'll just tell it to remove the disk. Okay, so as a bit of an introduction to oVirt, I will create a new virtual machine. It's all very simple. So what we'll do, this is the new virtual machine. I'll set it to Linux. I'm not too sure what that does, just gives it an icon. And we'll call this an oVirt node. Get back there, oVirt. oVirt node. Don't have to worry about the VM ID, that will throw that in there automatically. You give it a management interface, just a nick, and then you also create a disk. So the instance image is actually the disk. So you just create the disk, and I'm just going to give this disk 50 gigs, and don't really have to do anything else in there. Just go OK. Most of the other options in here you don't have to worry about. I think system, you can set memory. I'll just run with the default memory size. And yeah, so that's about it. And then we'll just go OK. So that's just created a new virtual machine for us, and that's how simple oVirt is. Again, in the same way that I did before, I will just right click, I will go run once. So this just allows you to attach a CD the first time you run it for installation. I will select the oVirt node. At the moment I'm running 4.1.2. 4.1.3 is coming out soon, but it should be fairly simple to this as this. It should be as simple as this even if you're running a later version. So we've now got that, and we'll just go OK, and it should start up. I will run the console, and the console will start a dialog. It's actually saying remote viewer now. That will be the Virt manager. So I'm running Fedora as my desktop, and that just starts the remote viewer or the Virt manager viewer, and it's a really nice console to work with. So here's the oVirt installation. I will go up to the oVirt node. So very much just standard CentOS Fedora style installation. All very, very simple. There's only one more little quirk. We'll just go through the installation just as this starts up. I'll just show some of the settings that you might change. All really basic stuff. And then there's one little quirk where it never enables the network, so you've got to restart it again, go back into it, enable your network, and then restart your network. So we'll just go Australia, just by habit to a certain extent, and so US keyboard, we will go Sydney, and we'll go dis. We'll just let it do an automatically configure partitioning, and network connected. Turn the network on. I would normally give it a host name. I would go in here to configure IPv4. You would normally just select manual, because you don't want these on DHCP, and then you would assign a manual address in here. So I'm just going to cancel on that, and we leave that on. We go done. And that's about it. So we're just going to create a root user. And repeat the password. So again, this is all just inside of a virtual machine. So, hello. I think it's installing in the background, so it's just taking a few resources. A lot easier and faster in a non-virtual machine. So just go there, just put my password in, click done. We'll probably have to press it twice. I usually create a user, usually make that user administrative. Say test user, and we'll give the test user a password. We're obviously not going to use this test user, but you would normally just give yourself an administrative user. And I just go done again, because it says it's a weak password. So all we do now is we wait for it to finish the installation. So we're just going to fast forward until then. Okay, so our installation is now completed. We're just going to reboot the computer. Okay, so the oVirt node has now started. We will just log in as root, and we'll log in, and And actually, if we go IPA, we'll notice that there's no IP address on the ETH0 interface. We have a network connection, we have a DHCP server, but it's never enabled when you install oVirt node. So I'll just go into easiest way is just nm2e, edit a connection, only connection we've got. I just go in and I select automatically connect and tab through, go to OK, and that's it basically. And I will quit and system CTL, restart network. So we'll restart the network and we should be able to go IPA. We've got an address, and because we've said automatically connect, when we reboot the computer, we'll actually see that connected. So just one of the little quirks that gets you every time you install the current oVirt node. I don't know if that's a bug. Hopefully it will be fixed in future versions. So yeah, that's the installation of oVirt node. What you've got to do now is you can actually connect onto the cockpit interface by going to port 9090, and from there you can install the oVirt engine. So that'll be in the next video, and we'll end this one for now. Okay, thanks.